Alright, so there has been a few changes to the dynamic temperature system and some differences in how to incorporate ultradynamic weather. So as you can see to the left side of the screen, our air temperature is being updated by ultradynamic weather, and we are currently shaking thanks to the camera component. So when I step into this structure in here, our atmosphere temperature is going to go up thanks to the occlusion from ultradynamic weather. So this is not from the fire. When I go into the fire though, the air temperature will not change. It's still ultradynamic weather outside of the circle. And it is only affecting the receiving temperature for us. And if you can look at the receiving temperature, there is a gradient system, which is a bit more accurate now. And it is being controlled by a curve. So let's take a look at that right now, actually. So when you add in your new heat source, you can add in the dynamic temperature system in here, and then go into the emit tab and add in the object type which you want to affect. So for my case, it's just the player character, so I'll just add in a pawn. And the sphere radius, so the radius of effect, and the heat emission. So this heat emission, it's going to add on top of the air temperature. So if this is 55 and the air temperature is 10, then it's going to be 65. And you can also put it to minus 55 and it will make you cold if you go next to it. And under the default tab, you will have a curve graph. And it's a simple curve from 0 to 1. It's just based off distance. So when we are at the furthest point of the radius, we are not going to receive any of the temperature from the component. And when we are on top of it, then we are going to receive the full effect. And that's all there is to it. Now let's talk about ultradynamic weather and how to reference it correctly. First thing you'll need to do is head on over to your main HUD. So your main HUD is the HUD class that's in your main game mode. You're going to have to create 2 events in here, one being initialization and the other one being a tick. And you can see there's a delay here. It's just constantly looping. You can get fancy with this and make your own logic for it, but I found this very effective. It's just being called every second. So this is the only time this is being called, and this little float here, it's going to update all of the characters or all of the blueprints that need this. So this is good, and it's optimized this way. All it needs to happen once inside the HUD blueprint. So this event in here will have to be fired by ultradynamic weather. So inside ultradynamic weather, we need to head to the begin play, and we need to grab the HUD and grab a reference to this blueprint, which is self-reference. So if you are curious on how to make this function in here, let's just take a look. You just need to grab the player controller and get the HUD from the player controller and cast to your main game mode. And that's all there is to it. And then from in here, this event is going to initialize this, and it's going to start ticking every second, and this float will be updated correctly. So if ultradynamic weather is not present in the level, this will never happen. Okay, so that's for setting up this float correctly. Now you will need to head over to the ADC dynamic temperature system, and you're going to head over to the begin play, and you're gonna have to add this bit of logic on your own. So make sure your player character has a tag called player. So what's gonna happen in here, it's going to fire an event if the autodynamic weather reference is valid. And this event is pretty much the same as this, However, it's grabbing the temperature from the HUD blueprint and it's updating the atmosphere temperature inside the component, and it's happening every second. So this will only happen for the player character only. But this variable here would also have to be updated for other blueprints that need it when they are emitting temperature. So you will have to go up here for that under the legacy node. You're gonna need to create this macro. And this macro is also going to call the HUD, grab the reference, check if it's valid, and set the atmosphere temperature. And you know, this would be a bit more optimized if we put it under here. Yeah, this would be better if we put it here. So that's all there is to it. It's gonna happen every 10th of a second. Now, the data for the temperature is being updated correctly. That's all there is to it for autodynamic weather integration. Now, for setting up the player states, so when I was in the level, the camera was shaking when I was cold, and when I was warm, the camera was normal. So that will be under the camera component, which is ADC DCS. And you're gonna have to populate the camera settings with your own curve graphs. So I've got a bunch here. I've got idle, lots of idles, cold, freezing. So this is being called on every tick, but you can do it in a more optimized way. So you can create this function which tells you when you are cold, when you are warm. So in here I'm just grabbing the temperature component, grabbing the body temperature, and I'm checking if I'm above certain levels. It's pretty straightforward and simple. And that's all there is to it. I hope this was useful to you, and thanks for watching.